Good morning, friends. Let us start today's class. This is a continuation of yesterday's class where we were dealing with solid waste pollution. And in solid waste pollution, now we would be dealing with biomedical waste. Naam dekho, biology or medical. The two words have somehow been combined to form biomedical waste. So, what will constitute of biomedical waste, or what constitutes of biomedical waste? It includes anything that comes out of a hospital. So, syringes which are coming out of it, medicines which are coming out of it, bandages which are coming out of it, body parts which may be coming out of it, they're all biomedical waste. Anything that comes out of a butchery. Butcheries are uh, places where animals are cut for making meat. That's also biomedical waste. Anything that comes out of a pharmaceutical company, from a pharmaceutical company where they manufacture medicines, it would be a biomedical waste. Anything that comes out of labs, path labs and all those things are there, where testing happens, it would be biomedical waste. Anything which comes out of vaccination centers or the places where research and development related to these are being made is biomedical waste. So I hope you are getting a clarity, you are getting some idea about what biomedical waste is. Okay, so all these things are biomedical waste. Here we have given you a traditional technical definition, but broadly understand what is meant by it. Now, biomedical waste may be coming from healthcare facilities, may be coming from research institutions, they may be coming from blood banks, mortuaries, biotech institutions, industrial production, and so on. We do not have the latest estimate because in COVID-19, that kind of estimation has not been made. But in 2018, every day we were producing around 550 TPD, tons per day. Every day we were producing 550 tons of biomedical waste. So, you say if you'll convert it in lakhs, 5.45 lakh kgs. 1 ton is 1000 kg, no? 1 ton is 1000 kg. So 550 into 1000, 5.5 lakh kg per day was the waste that you are producing, that India was producing in 2018. Most of it was properly processed, was properly disposed of, but still around like 447 TPD was treated, but rest of it around 100 TPD. Look at the difference. Around 100 tons per day. Around 1 lakh kg of biomedical waste per day was not being treated, was just thrown around, was not properly disposed of. This you would understand if in some small towns you will visit you will visit a hospital. Around the hospital you will see waste disposed of. I come from a very small town. There, my school was very near to the hospital. So on many occasion we used to see that in our school playground or the playground of that area where we used to play, there the biomedical waste was disposed of. And this all of you must have seen if you come from small towns and all. In places like Delhi, maybe disposal is still better, but otherwise it's not. Okay, then to deal with this issue, to ensure that biomedical waste is properly disposed of, is properly taken care of, India has set up 200 common biomedical waste treatment facility. We'll use CBWTF to refer to these common biomedical waste treatment facilities. Now, in India, we have more than 600 districts, but we only have 200 of these facilities. This will tell you, even in one whole district, we do not have a facility. Like for more than 3 districts, we have one biomedical waste treatment facility. Now, why do we want to treat biomedical waste? Why biomedical waste is a cause of concern? Why biomedical waste is a issue? Because it can cause a lot of problems. Now, again, rather than getting into this detail, think of that playground where I was playing. There, biomedical waste was disposed of. Sometimes they'll burn it. Burning of that biomedical waste will lead to air pollution. Okay, they may even be disposing of thermometers. Thermometer would come from hospitals, though thermometer would now be included in the definition of e-waste. We had seen mercury containing products have been included in the definition of e-waste, but those thermometers have also been used on a lot of people and may be carrying diseases. Release of mercury, release of other products from there may lead to water pollution also, may lead to soil pollution also. But there are bigger concerns. Major concern, most important concern from biomedical waste comes from its ability to spread diseases. Like they may be disposing of syringe. The syringe may have been used to transfer medicine to a person who's suffering from AIDS or other such diseases. And if you just dispose it off like that, kids are playing around, they'll take that syringe, they'll be happy. They'll start playing with it. Or people who move around, they may fall on it, they may get cut, they may get injured, and in the process, injury is also a problem. But in the process, they may get some disease. Think of biomedical waste from COVID facilities. They're changing the mask, they're putting the mask in the dustbin, and then they're disposing of this mask. If it's not disposed of properly, those masks may contain COVID-19 virus and thus may be a concern, may be a problem. So, these are the different things which are mentioned here: unpleasant smell, transmission of diseases, injuries. Achha, there's one more important problem that they may cause. If pharmaceutical companies or hospitals are disposing of medicines which may be of poor quality, medicines which may have expired, if they're just disposing of like that, some antisocial elements may collect that medicine, may repackage it and may sell it, creating other problems, other issues. So, you're understanding how biomedical waste can create a lot of issues. Now, COVID-19 has added to this biomedical waste problems. There are surgical masks, face shields, gloves, shoe covers, PPE kits, all those things which are being disposed of, and thus the data for 2018 may become too large for 2020 and 21. 2020 May, the 550 tons per day was the biomedical waste that we were throwing, but here this data may be much larger. Okay, now what steps have we taken to deal with biomedical waste which is coming out or coming due to COVID-19? See, one thing that we have done in the very beginning itself, in February, March 2020 itself, CPCB, Central Pollution Control Board, declared these biomedical waste as hazardous biomedical waste. COVID-19 biomedical waste as hazardous biomedical waste was announced, was declared. Then, in May 2020, you would see that CPCB, Central Pollution Control Board, came up with an app, COVID-19 Biomedical Waste Management App. This basically connected two groups, the treatment facilities and waste generators, that is hospitals and treatment facilities there. Then in March 2020, the CPCB had also come up with guidelines on COVID-19, guidelines on COVID-19 biomedical waste handling. These guidelines, they kept on revising. They revised it 3-4 times. But initially they came up with guidelines for the biomedical waste handling in 2012. It dealt with, like with every revision, some more things were added, but it dealt with things like waste management system that needs to be instituted for hospital isolation wards. Hospital may we have COVID-19 isolation wards. How the waste coming out from there would be managed. Then these guidelines later also covered waste disposal from quarantine centers, waste safety of waste handlers, like people who will be handling those waste, how their safety would be ensured, and safety of sanitary workers. Further guidelines also included, with revision guidelines also included segregation of general and biomedical waste in quarantine households, because in household also people were being quarantined. So how general waste and biomedical waste would be segregated there. This was also one of the focus areas of the guidelines which were released. So for COVID-19 biomedical waste also certain steps have been taken. पहले उन्हें hazardous waste, first those were declared hazardous waste. Second, the app which came in May 2020, and then these guidelines which came in March and have been regularly revised to add in more and more dimensions. Initially, the idea was everyone would be quarantined in hospitals, but very soon there was a realization that non-symptomatic or less severe cases have to be quarantined in homes. So when they are being quarantined in homes, there have to be a guideline for how quarantine happens in home, how the medical waste, biomedical waste which comes out of that house has to be taken care of. So all those things kept on happening. Fine. Now, in general, what is the biomedical waste management rules 2016 that is in force right now? So we have already spoken about solid waste management rules, plastic waste management rules, then construction and demolition waste management rules. The construction and demolition was separated from solid waste management rules in 2016. Till 2016 it was covered under municipal solid waste management rules only, but it was separated there. Now we are studying biomedical waste management rules 2016. It was amended in 2018-19. So it is the 2016 rule which is in force right now. Okay. So where are these rules applicable? First thing, these rules are applicable at vaccination camps, blood donation camps, सर्जिकल कैंप्स एंड इन अदर हेल्थ केयर एक्टिविटी. तो हॉस्पिटल्स वगैरह में तो एप्लीकेबल है ही. ओके, व्हाट आर द की प्रोविजंस? हाउ बायोमेडिकल वेस्ट इन हॉस्पिटल्स एंड ऑल दीज प्लेसेस शुड बी हैंडल्ड? फर्स्ट provision that we want to study is related to pre-treatment. Before it goes for full-fledged treatment, or before you treat it in a full-fledged manner in your campus only, treatment may happen in two ways. You can treat the biomedical waste in your campus only, or you can send it to those biomedical waste treatment facilities which India has created. So the question is, one provision that was here was pre-treatment. Whatever waste that you are producing, laboratory waste, microbiological waste, blood samples and blood bags, all these waste on site has to be pre-treated before it goes for full treatment as per the prescription by WHO or National AIDS Control Organization. This pre-treatment has to occur. This is one aspect. Then they said that waste would be classified into 4 categories. Earlier waste was classified into 10 different categories. Now in the earlier rules, when waste was classified into 10 different categories, it was difficult for hospitals to comply to these norms. इसमें metallic syringes जाएंगे, इसमें packets जाएंगे. It was difficult. So now they have simplified the process. They said that waste would be classified into 4 categories. So now if you go to hospitals, at least the good ones, there you will be able to see dustbins of 4 different colors where 4 different kinds of wastes are being put. Those are red, yellow, blue and black. And waste in different categories will be treated differently. It has to be treated differently, right? So in the red bin, we have plastic waste such as syringe bottles and etc. Syringe is there, not the metallic part, just the plastic wala part, or bottles. They'll go in the red bin. Yellow bin will have infectious waste like bandages, cotton, placenta, etc. Blue or white bin will have glass bottles, discarded medicines, etc. And black bin will have needles without syringes. There is no needle wala part. Needles, metal articles, and so on will go in black bin. Now, as we were saying that these have to be treated in a different manner. So here they say that they can store this thing at the facility for 48 hours, but after that it should either be treated in situ at the facility, or a worker from common biomedical waste treatment facility should come and collect it and it should be treated there. The second thing, the first thing that happened was, we said that pre-treatment would happen. Second, classification of biomedical waste was done into 4 categories rather than the earlier 10 categories. Then we discontinued chlorinated bag. Discontinued, it was supposed to be phased discontinuation. These rules came in 2016. So by 2018, chlorinated bags, gloves or blood bags have to be discontinued because chlorine adds to extra pollution. So chlorinated bags are used because of its certain advantages, but they lead to a number of other environmental concerns. So they have to be discontinued. Later, because in 2018 this was not achieved. In 2018, an amendment was done where the deadline was shifted to 2019. Then barcode system was brought in. So when waste is collected from, let's say, hospital in a bag, whether that waste is reaching common biomedical waste treatment facility or not, how would that be determined? Now, consider this situation. Suppose I am the guy who has come from common biomedical waste treatment facility. Suppose I am that guy. मेरा मन नहीं है काम करने का. I'll collect the waste from hospital and I'll collect the waste from Gangaram Hospital and I'll dispose it off in Sindhi Park. How would they get to know? So what the rules are saying is, go for what? Go for barcoding of the bags which will be carrying this waste. So barcode would be scanned here. From hospital this bag has been taken. Now the barcode should also be scanned in the common biomedical waste treatment facility, so that beach mein some kamchor person like me should not dispose of the waste. Or 10 packets leke jane, they will need 2 autos or 2 trucks. Why waste money in 2 trucks? Let's dispose half of it there. We'll say we have got the biomedical waste from Gangaram Hospital. So this was introduced. Then there were more stringent standards for things like incinerators. The biomedical waste dispose of bhi hoga, treat hoga. So for incinerators, stringent provisions were brought in to reduce pollution. States were supposed to give land for setting up of biomedical waste treatment facilities and so on. And then some small amendments were done in 2018, like phasing out of chlorinated bag, which was supposed to be done in 2 years. By 2018, its deadline was changed to 2019. Barcode system for both generators and operators were established, and GPS in vehicles of common biomedical waste treatment facility was also set up. You'll understand the reason for GPS. From common biomedical waste treatment facility, they are sent to Gangaram Hospital rather than going there. They are doing some other work. Or from Gangaram Hospital, they were supposed to go back to the common biomedical waste treatment facility. वो किसी जंगल में जाके गिरा है. तो GPS things are beneficial in that manner. Okay. I hope समझ में आ रही हैं चीजें. Now, this was everything related to biomedical waste, which we wanted to study from preliminary examination perspective. Please note that for mains, we would understand what are the problems which are still there in our biomedical waste treatment. COVID-19 और कौन सी extra problems लेके आया है, and then we'll talk about what should be the way forward at government level, at individual level, at public level, and all those things. We'll talk about that. So in mains, we'll have to deal with other aspects. In mains, all these things are part of introduction. So we would perhaps write 2-3 lines about. So in mains, dimensions become very different. We will not have to study this much. In mains, we'll have 3 classes on environment. For preliminary examination, we have had 20 classes. No, for mains, we'll only have 3 classes on environment. There I'll not get into the details कि biomedical waste कहाँ से आते हैं क्या, because UPSC would not ask this kind of question. What are list the sources of biomedical waste? No, they will not ask this in mains examination. They may ask this in preliminary examination. Which of the following may be considered a source of biomedical waste? Okay, so these 20 classes would actually become 3 classes for the mains examination. Now, recently, in recent years, CPCB, Central Pollution Control Board, has categorized industries in red, orange, green and white category based on their pollution index. What is pollution index? Pollution index is the polluting capacity. Agar aapka pollution index, if it's less, you are not very polluting in nature. If it's high, you are very polluting in nature. For example, pollution index red hai, so these generally would be mining industries, which are highly polluting in nature. है ना, pollution level less है, so these would mainly be assembly industries. Assembly, like for example, think of air coolers. When you look at air cooler shop, what they actually are doing, they're getting components from different places and they're assembling it. In the process, they're not adding to any pollution as such. So these are the 4 different ways of categorization of industries. Once an industry is categorized in a particular setup, they have to follow certain set of rules. So this simplifies, or this improves ease of doing business in the country. Because if I have been categorized into red category, I would know, okay, I'll have to follow these norms. If I have been categorized into white category, I will know कि मुझे ज़्यादा norms follow नहीं करने. So it simplifies my business. It enhances my ease of doing business. Noise pollution. What is noise pollution? Like very superficially, if you want to understand it, or at very basic level, if you want to understand it, any noise which creates discomfort for you is noise pollution. It's noise pollution. Suppose you're watching my videos in your room and your flatmate is sleeping, your roommate is sleeping, और आपने full volume पे मेरा video चला लिया. Even that noise, the thing that I'm speaking right now, would be noise pollution for your flatmate who doesn't want to listen to it, who doesn't like my voice, who gets irritated by voice. Even that would be noise pollution. But in general, noise pollution is any noise which creates discomfort. Transportation truck is moving, that's noise pollution. You may be using a mixer grinder, that creates noise. TV at high volume, radios at high volume, that's noise pollution. When a plane goes up, it creates a lot of noise, that's noise pollution. When a rocket is launched, it creates a lot of noise, that's noise pollution. When you burn crackers, that creates noise, that's noise pollution. Construction sites, there are a lot of noises created, that's noise pollution. Right? So what is noise pollution? यहाँ पे देखिए, noise pollution refers to presence of such level of noise or sound in the environment that are disturbing, irritating and annoying to living beings. Okay, now what are the causes? Transportation, factories, building and construction sites, firecrackers, loudspeakers, DJs, domestic appliances and so on. What are effects of noise pollution? Why noise pollution is something that is a cause of concern? What are the effects of noise pollution? First, start with the health effect. If there is continuous noise around you, you will have headache, you will have sleep disturbance, usse your whole day would suffer, you will start facing psychological issues. Eventually, all aspects of your health may suffer. Very loud noise may even lead to loss of hearing and deafness. Noise at like 180 decibel, we'll understand what decibel is and all. Noise at 170 or 180 decibel, that's very high. If you end up facing that kind of noise, you may even face permanent deafness because your eardrums may not be able to take that pressure. Okay, cardiac disturbance, sleeplessness, headache, stress, tension, aggressiveness, mental imbalance and nervous debility, debility, psychological imbalance, difficulty in talking. It may also affect biodiversity. A recent study was published in Conservation Biology Journal which says that 6 of the birds which were exposed to noise were smaller than the ones in quiet nests. So even in case of other living organisms, a lot of noise is harmful. A lot of noise have been shown to add to problems. Fine. The noise pollution would lead to certain issues. Now comes this is something of science and technology. This section, how noise is measured, is a section of science and technology, but we'll briefly understand it because we'll use terms like 10 decibel, 20 decibel, 50 decibels. So we should be able to understand when we are saying 50 decibel or when we are saying 10 decibel, what is the difference in the sound. Okay, so first of all, before we get into anything, please note a term called threshold of hearing. Okay, what is threshold of hearing? Threshold of hearing is the faintest sound that you can hear, smallest sound that you can hear. That is threshold of hearing. Below this, you would not be able to hear anything. That is threshold of hearing. Fine, ये बात समझ में आ गई? तो what pressure is created on your eardrums, that will play a role. So उसमें अभी नहीं जाते हैं. Let's not get into eardrum. Did we all understand what is threshold of hearing? Now please note, threshold of hearing का जो intensity है and the highest volume, highest noise that we can hear, उसमें ना it is billions time more. It is billions of time more. So faintest noise and the highest noise that we can hear, उनमें difference in scale is of more than 1 billion times. Now, if we were measuring noise in any XYZ manner, and if we were using normal scale, normal linear scale, it would be very complex, right? You would measure one noise as one unit of that noise, other noise as 1 lakh unit, other noise as 10 lakh unit, 1 crore units. So it will be complex system. So to deal with this situation, what mathematicians do, they use logarithmic scales. For those of you who have studied science and technology, who have studied science in class 11 and class 12, who have studied mathematics in class 11 and class 12, would know what logarithmic scale is, right? So they use what is known as logarithmic scale. So before we get into anything, let's briefly, for those of you who have not studied logarithmic scale, logarithmic scale, I'm not going to teach you logarithm and all. I'm just going to help you understand कि logarithmic scale कैसे एक बड़े नंबर को छोटा बना देता है representation के लिए. So basically log, and I'll just explain this to you through some examples. I'm not getting into technicalities and all. Log of base 10, this value, log of base 10 is log of 10 to the base 10 is 1. ऐसे ही log 100 to the base 10 is 2. Log 1000 to base 10. Did you understand? यहाँ पे स्केल कैसे चेंज हो, 10 से 100, 100 से 1000, but on logarithmic scale it is only changing from 1 to 3. Did we understand this? Pakka? Generally log 1 is generally is 0. log 1 is 0. Fine. So we are not studying log scale here, but I'm just trying to explain you how log scale, if you convert something in log scale, you will reduce the scale of measurement. So it will be easy to document. Rather than saying 1 lakh unit, you'll only be able to say 10 units. Something like that. बात समझ में आई? Why? Just broadly understand it. UPSC will not ask this. This is I studied logarithm in class 11. I did not study it till class 10, and I assume that for your preparation you only need mathematics or science understanding up till class 10 level. Whatever I have taught you, it is of up to class 10 level. I have not gone beyond it whenever I was teaching science and technology or here. So I just wanted to briefly talk about this log scale. So because volume का जो faintest noise that we can hear उसका unit and the highest noise that we can hear उसका unit में बहुत ज़्यादा scale है. It has very large variation. So rather than representing different noise in that scale, we'll represent it using logarithmic scale, which is called decibel. We say na, this sound is 1 decibel, this sound is 5 decibel, this sound is 10 decibel. So how do we do it? We use this to measure intensity of sound. Where P0 is your threshold of hearing and P1 is the sound that you want to measure. So with respect to threshold of hearing, how loud is that sound? So in normal situation, it is 1 lakh times louder, it is 10 lakh times louder, it is 1000 times louder, right? That is true. But for measurement, we will use the decibel scale to simplify things. Okay, so in general, see, look at this thing. This is how when we are measuring sound, so just log, let me go back here. Log to the base 10, P that you have to measure by P0. This is how you will measure decibel of a sound. So sound, threshold of hearing hai. If the sound is at threshold of hearing, that is the minimum sound that you can hear, then P is equal to P0. P0 is basically your threshold of hearing. P is equal to P0, so it will become 10 log P0 से P0 कट जाएगा, 1 बच जाएगा, 1. Log 1 is what? Log 1 is 0, that will become 0, or it will become for 10 into 0, that is 0 decibel. The faintest noise that you can hear is 0 decibel. Faintest noise that you can hear is 0 decibel. Did you get my point? Now let's say when compared to faintest noise, the noise is 10 times more. The noise is 10 times more. So P is 10 times of faintest noise. Intensity of P is 10 times of faintest noise. So in decibel, what would it become? Agar P is equal to 10 P naught, so it will become 10 P naught by P naught, right? If P is equal to 10 P naught 10 times, so it will become 10 P naught by P naught is equal to 10 log. Log 10 is what? 1. So 10 into 1 is equal to 10. So if your noise is 10 times of the threshold of hearing, then it is 10 decibel. But if your noise is, let's say, 100 times of threshold of hearing. If it's 100 times of threshold of hearing, 100 P naught by P naught, right, is equal to 10 log 10 100. And what is log 100 to the base 10? 2, right? So it becomes 10 into 2 is equal to 20 decibel. If it's 1000 times, it will become 30 decibel. If it is 10,000 times, it will become 40 decibel. If it's 1 lakh times, it will become 50 decibel. If it is 10 lakh times, it will become 60 decibel. If it's 1 crore times, it will become 70 decibel. So I hope you understood the meaning of decibel, the measure that we use, the unit that we use for measurement of sound, and why we do not want to use normal intensity wala mechanism, because we'll have to say 10 lakh, 1 crore times of threshold of hearing. Rather than saying 1 crore times of threshold of hearing, we say 70 decibel. Rather than saying 10 crore times, we say 80 decibel. Rather than saying 100 crore times, we say 90 decibel. So the reason why use decibel, ये आपको अब समझ में आया होगा. Rather than using very big scale, like, are there people from a non-science background here? Is there someone from non-science background? If they can tell me if they have understood it or not. कोई मुझे बताएगा क्या? Ankit Dahiya has got it. Samreen also got it. अच्छा, आप लोग सब नॉन साइंस वाले हैं? ओके 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 ओके, फाइन फाइन. इज देयर एनीवन फ्रॉम नॉन साइंस अमंग यू पीपल? अब भी नॉन, आपको समझ में आ गया? ओके. अच्छा, एक वन स्मॉल थिंग दैट आई वुड लाइक टू टेल यू. इन लॉगरिथमिक सिस्टम, जैसे ये होता है ना, वी से log 100 to the base 10. We know this, right? Log 1 to the base 10 is 0. Right? We know this. Log 10 to the base 10 is 1. Right? Now, log 10 to to the base 10, यहाँ पे 10 raised to कुछ भी x हो, 100 हो तो 10 raised to 2, 1000 हो तो 10 raised to 3, 10,000 हो 10 raised to 4. It basically becomes x into log 10 raised to 10. Sorry. It basically, log base 10 raised to x basically is equal to x into log 10. This is basically x, because this is equal to 1. This is equal to 1. This is how we can simplify the calculations. So log 1000 to the base 10 was 3. बट हमारे डेसिबल कैलकुलेशन में 10 से मल्टीप्लाइड है वो, तो इट बिकम्स 30. डेसिबल कैलकुलेशन में 10 से पहले भी मल्टीप्लाइड है, तो लॉग यहाँ पे 1000 हो जाएगा, तो इट विल बिकम 330 डेसिबल. 10,000 10 raised to 4 40 decibel. 100,000, that is 10 raised to 5 50 decibel. So this is the measure of sound, how we measure sound. It was important, like you should have clarity. UPSC may ask you this question though: if the sound is 10 decibel, What does it mean? नीचे 4 statement. It is 10 times louder than threshold of hearing. It is 100 times louder than threshold of hearing. It is 1000 times louder than threshold of hearing. So what will be it? If the sound is 10 decibel, it is 10 times larger. Okay, someone would answer me now. Who will answer me? Santosh would answer me. There's a student, Santosh Kushwaha. संतोष जी, अपने नाम के आगे मैं जी लगा रहा हूँ. Would you like to talk to me? I would ask you a question और आप आंसर करेंगे. गायब हो गए. हाँ, संतोष is saying yes. So let's say a sound is 1000 times higher than the threshold of hearing. वो कितना डेसिबल होगा? संतोष, आपकी आवाज नहीं आ पा रही, तो आप चैट में बता देंगे. तो आपकी आवाज ब्रेक हो रही है. 30 डेसिबल. राहुल ने क्यों बताया? ये राहुल अलग स्मार्ट बन रहा है. जब पूछा संतोष से तो चलिए, एनीवेज, you people more or less have understood this. What was the purpose, what was the need of this thing? Okay. So decibel scale is something that you have understood. Okay. Now let's go to, there's another scale called dBA. dBA is basically, see, decibel is basically telling you about the intensity of the sound or about how much pressure has been created on your eardrums, right? But sometimes some sound you find very pleasant and some you find very ye nahi sun sakte. High pitch noises is something that is more painful for you when compared to low pitch noises, right? So with the same decibel also, two different sounds can be taken differently by you. With the same decibel, like two people, let's say एक मैं हूं, एक संबित पात्रा है. We are speaking with the same decibel, let's say 50 decibel से बात कर रहे हैं. But some people may find सर फालतू, मतलब संबित पात्रा का नॉइस ज्यादा बेयरेबल. और लेट्स से कोई इरिटेटिंग बताओ ना जिसका नॉइस सुनते. अर्नब गोस्वामी भी चिल्लाता है इसलिए इरिटेटिंग हो जाता है. और चलो अर्नब गोस्वामी एंड आई एम स्पीकिंग विद द सेम डेसिबल, मतलब सेम. वो अर्नब गोस्वामी इज आल्सो नॉट अ गुड एग्जांपल. Just imagine the person, you people imagine a person who has the most irritating sound for you. Every people may have a person who have an irritating sound. So I am speaking with some volume, some noise level. That person is also speaking with some volume or some noise level. But with the same volume or noise level, that person may be more painful to your ears, because your ears are able to take in more from that person. So to consider those things, to consider the frequency, pitch, because here frequency ये देखोगे, in this dBA what we do is the decibel values of sounds at low frequencies are reduced, because low frequency sound is not that problematic for us, even if its sound is more. And decibel value of high frequency sound which are of high frequency, even the decibel value is less. In dBA that is reduced, that is increased, their decibel value that is increased, because high frequency sound हमारे लिए ज़्यादा irritating होता है. Okay, generally boys have low frequency and girls have high frequency or high pitch voice. बिकॉज दे हैव हाई पिच वॉइस, जब वो चिल्लाने लगती है, लड़ने लगती है, तो ज्यादा इरिटेटिंग। समझ में आ रही है? इसीलिए कोशिश करो लड़कियों से मत लड़ो। ओके, तो डीबीए इज दैट measurement scale where dB is modified to take into consideration frequency or other factors which makes the noise bearable or non-bearable. Fine. Now we have understood the technicalities dB and dBA. Now let's get into what is the safe limit of hearing. कितना sound हम सुन सकते हैं, beyond what it would be problematic. So hearing loss would begin if you are continuously hearing 80 to 90 dBA for 7-8 hours. So if you are working in an organization, if you are working in a factory where continuous noise of 80 to 90 dBA is coming every day, so you're working around those machines which are making this noise, there's a chance of hearing loss. Then at a level above 140 dBA, it's painful. Like sometimes those things that you use, Sutli bum jalate ho, it's really painful. You stand like this, but not everyone knows, and people get frightened and they face issues. 180 dBA mein you could even 180 dBA could even kill a person. Now 180 dBA threshold of sound से कितना ज्यादा sound है? 10 raised to 18 times. 18 zeros in 10. थ्रेशोल्ड ऑफ हियरिंग से इतना ज्यादा है. फाइन. 10 raised to 18 टाइम्स ज्यादा है थ्रेशोल्ड ऑफ हियरिंग से 180 dBA. 10 raised to 18 इज बहुत. Now let's look at examples of noise level. Threshold of hearing is the lowest noise that we can hear. It's 0 decibel. Then rustling of leaves 20, quiet whisper 30. When we talk like this, I do not know whether people who are online are able to hear it or not, but quiet whisper is 30 decibel when someone is only 1 meter away. Then quiet home 40, normal काम चल रहा है. Normal conversation that we may have when we are standing together 60 decibel. Loud singing 75 decibel. Alarm clock 80 decibel. Diesel truck when you are 1 meter away from that truck 100 decibel. Power mower 107 decibel. Mower जिससे आप वो करते मूव करते हो. Jet plane 130 decibel. Rocket launch 180 decibel. तो सी 180 decibel पे किसी की डेथ भी हो जाती है. So when rocket launches take place, no, people do not stand very near to rocket. It's not only because of the safety issues, it's also because a lot of noise is created. A big blast happens. Okay, now what is the level of noise pollution in India? It's pretty high. I live right besides the Rajendra Place metro station. तो हमारे घर में ऐसे विंडो खुलती है और ऐसे गाड़ियों के पैं 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 आवाज आती रहती है. जीवन नर्क बना दिया है. मेरा नहीं, मेरे फ्लैटमेट का, जिसका रूम उस तरफ है. So it's pretty high. Even at nights, people are not understanding enough to not use horn and etc. Even in Rajendra Nagar, old Rajendra Nagar roads, you may have seen that रात में भी लोग हॉर्न बजाते हैं, जिसका कोई मतलब नहीं होता है. Even during sleeping hours. So noise levels in urban areas are increasing a lot because of various factors. What is being done to curb the noise pollution? We'll talk about this. Noise level is increasing. Noise level, more and more people have started using loudspeakers. We are needing one or the other excuse for using loudspeakers. Like at my home, every day at 5 or 5:30 in the morning, this what do you call them? कुछ भजन करते हुए लोग आते हैं रोड पे और भजन करते हुए लाउड स्पीकर पे भजन करते हुए जाते हैं. अब एक तो है ना, सुबह सुबह उठ के अनुराधा पौडवाल के भजन सुनो, अच्छा भी लगेगा. दिस बेसुरा आदमी in a very besura way on mic is singing, and he's literally besura. I'm not trying to being over critical. He's literally someone जो ना ऐसे गा दे तो कोई चप्पल मार के भगा दे. He along with 10-20 people from the nearby temple will go around and भजन सा कुछ गाते हुए जाएंगे. And that is noise pollution at 5 a.m. in the morning. मैं 3 बजे नोट्स बना के सोता हूँ, 5 बजे वो सुन के उठना पड़ता है. And I cannot do anything. I once told my father is very religious. सुबह सुबह भगवान की आवाज सुन लेगा तो क्या होगा? मैंने कहा पापा वो भगवान की आवाज नहीं है, ये क्या आवाज है? भगवान थोड़ी बोल रहे हैं आपसे. Even he would not understand. He would get angry. Something similar happens to these azan places, जहां मस्जिद में सुबह सुबह माइक लगा के बड़ा सा वो लाउड स्पीकर लगा के अजान चल रहा है. That is noise pollution. Now please understand, our gods, for people who believe in God, we worshipped gods even 2000 years back, 3000 years back, 4000 years back. We did not have mics, loudspeakers. Even then we could worship them. We could pray. People who believe in mythology, प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड, महाभारत में सब तप कर रहे हैं, भगवान को याद कर रहे हैं, वो लाउड स्पीकर पे नहीं कर रहे हैं. राइट? तो लाउड स्पीकर्स आर नॉट नीडेड. यू आर अननेसेसरली ट्रबलिंग एवरीवन. इट्स नॉट अबाउट वन पर्टिकुलर रिलीजन. इट्स नॉट ओनली अबाउट रिलीजन, इट्स अबाउट पार्टीज. रात में 12-1 बजे तक लाउड स्पीकर चल रहा है, कुछ भी कोई डीजे चला के नाच रहा है 12-1 बजे तक, तो 200 मीटर तक आवाज आ रही है यार. जगराते होते हैं भाई, उनमें अलग ही सिस्टम है, उनको और कोई कुछ बोल भी नहीं सकता क्योंकि रिलीजियस मैटर है. भाई तुम्हारे रिलीजन के चक्कर में मेरी माता रानी ने तो मुझे पढ़ने को बोला है ना, कि बेटा पढ़ाई करो, अपने बच्चों को पढ़ाओ. पता नहीं तुम्हारी वाली तुम्हें क्यों बोलती है रात भर जगो, अपना शेड्यूल खराब करो और दूसरों को जगाओ. अपना जो कर रहे हो करो, लाउड स्पीकर पे रख के उसे दूसरों को जगाओ. All that is noise pollution. And increasingly it's going up. We're not able to do anything. Vehicles, industries, construction sites, those are continuing to grow up. Regulation is somehow less. So what is being done? In 1980s, there were various court judgments, but as such government did not come up with any norms, regulations. In fact, Air Pollution Act covered noise pollution also earlier. Finally, in 2000, we came with noise regulation rules. These rules were amended in 2010, but it is these noise regulation rules which regulate noise in the country today. This noise regulation rules come under the Environment Protection Act 1986. It has two types of noise level standards which it has provided: ambient noise level standards and noise level designated noise level for different machinery, appliances, and so on. So basically, these rules, noise regulation rules, have set standards. In urban area, in near school, near hospital, and household, maximum noise level would be this. Of equipments, noise level cannot be beyond this, cannot be more than this. So standards that they have set, ambient noise level standard that they have set is divided into two things. 6 AM to 10 PM में आप कितना नॉइस कर सकते हो, एंड नाइट मतलब 10 PM to 6 AM में कितना नॉइस कर सकते हो. तो इंडस्ट्रियल एरिया नॉइस लिमिट दैट इज अलाउड इन द मॉर्निंग इज 75 dBA, at night 70 dBA. Commercial area 65 dBA. So basically when you are going to Karol Bagh market, it's a commercial area, the maximum noise level there should be 65 dBA. At night it should be 55 dBA. Then residential area, maximum noise should be 55 dBA. At night 45 dBA. So after 10 PM, noise should not go beyond 45 dBA. अबे यहाँ तो 6 AM से पहले भी नहीं होना चाहिए. These people who sing bhajans at 5 in the morning, they are also violating these norms. From 10 PM to 6 AM in residential area, it should not go beyond 45 dBA. But if I go to them and tell them, देखो ये, तुम एंटी हिंदू लोग भागो यहाँ से. भाई, we'll go to a masjid and tell the same thing. देखो, you're not allowed to do this at 5 in the morning. They'll be like, तुम हिंदू जाओ यहाँ से. अब मैं फंस जाऊंगा, वो एक एंटी हिंदू बोलेगा, एक हिंदू बोलेगा, और दोनों पीटेंगे. If I tell them rules and regulations, if I show them rules and regulations, in silence zone, places around schools, hospitals, they're considered silence zones. There, 50 dBA से ज्यादा noise in the day hours and 40 dBA से ज्यादा noise night should not be made. Now, understand the meaning of 40 dBA again. Quiet home is 40 dB. In areas around school, at night, at night the noise should not go more than 40 dBA. Now in Karol Bagh, very near to this place, there's a school यहाँ पे, और उसके आगे ही ना वो दशहरा का पंडाल लगता है जहाँ रात भर म्यूजिक बजता है. See, these rules are there, but implementation नहीं हो रहा होता है. The rules further specify that no permission could be granted by any authority for use of public address system. What is public? Loudspeakers and all. Just say you address public in the open after 10 p.m. After 10 p.m. you cannot use public address system, and before 6 a.m. But again, जो मेरी नींद खराब करते हैं लोग, वो सुबह 5 बजे आ जाते हैं पब्लिक एड्रेस सिस्टम लेके एंड बेसुरा गाते हैं, बहुत बेसुरा. They are violating these norms. Okay. So what steps have we taken? First is this regulations, 2000 regulations which are in place. Then government has also set up National Ambient Noise Monitoring Network. Look at the name, Ambient Noise Monitoring Network. These would be devices which will be monitoring noise in the cities. It was launched in 2011, and so far in 2 phases, 70 monitoring stations have been set up in 7 cities, which will measure the noise level in these cities. Idea is that in the third plan, 90 stations in 80 other cities would be established to understand, to monitor the noise level. इस cities में कितना noise हो रहा है. Okay. अंकित दहिया हैज राइटिंग ढिंचक पूजा. अच्छा, फॉर जिसका नॉइस बर्दाश्त नहीं होता, अंकित दहिया के लिए ढिंचक पूजा का नॉइस बर्दाश्त नहीं होता है. देन राहुल इज सेइंग कैरी मिनाती. हु इज कैरी मिनाती? ढिंचक पूजा तो वो है जो स्कूटर पे गाना बनाई है, राइट? कैरी मिनाती ने क्या किया है? यूट्यूबर. ओके ओके. So you understood this National Ambient Noise Monitoring Network? Now, in 2015, a Supreme Court judgment came. In 2015, a Supreme Court judgment came, जहाँ पे that filed 4 infants had filed a petition. These infants were between 6 months to 14 months of age, and they had filed a petition कि भाई दिवाली के पटाखों से हमारी लग जाती है. In our right to life, we have right to live in a peaceful environment, and therefore Supreme Court banned bursting of sound emitting crackers between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. during Diwali. Sound emitting crackers anyways are useless. Anar jalao yaar. That gives you the feeling of Diwali and a lot of pollution. So the Supreme Court has banned sound emitting crackers after 10 p.m. between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. Now, in June 2020, a matter is going on in National Green Tribunal, and CPCB has proposed new set of fines for violation of noise regulation 2010. So as I was telling you, that there are regulations which say that your noise should not go beyond this amount. But are those regulations being followed? No. We have seen many examples just around you. You would see many examples. आपके पड़ोस में कोई आदमी एकदम लाउड स्पीकर पे गाना बजा देता है. In your flat, someone may be doing it. That is violation of norms. So what they have come up with new rules with higher fines. So this is still a draft norm. CPCB has proposed a new set of fines between rupees 1,000 to 1 lakh for those who violate norms restricting noise pollution under the Noise Pollution Regulation and Control Rules 2000. So what are the new norms that they are suggesting? If you are violating norms related to use of loudspeakers and PA system, after 10 p.m. till before 6 a.m. in open areas, you should not use loudspeakers and public address system, confiscation of the system and a fine of up to rupees 10,000. The system would be confiscated and a fine of up to rupees 10,000 would be imposed. ये तो कर सकते हैं. Once this comes into force, मैं कंप्लेन करूंगा, वो लोग मुझे पीटेंगे, उससे पहले मेरे पापा मुझे पीटेंगे. अधर्मी और कौन कौन से वर्ड होते हैं वो सारे. But if you are violating a norm related to loudspeaker and public address system, 10,000 rupees ka fine and confiscation of the system. Confiscation of the system is the best. Then diesel generator sets. Diesel, we know that noise, जो rules हैं 2010 वाले regulations, they are also providing what equipment can make how much noise. They put a limit on the noise levels. So here, if diesel sets are violating the norms, sealing of the sets and a fine between 10,000 and 1 lakh rupees. Similarly, construction equipments, if they are violating the norms, seizures, sealings and a fine of up to rupees 50,000. So basically, CPCB has proposed new set of fines to properly impose what noise regulations, noise. Okay, fine, understood. Now, let's go to light pollution. Light pollution. Noise pollution is done. See, soil pollution, air pollution, water pollution, noise pollution, now light pollution. What is light pollution? Like noise, like light. What? Anything which irritates you, extra amount of light, which hampers your sleep cycle. That's light pollution. So what is light pollution? Light pollution, it's also called photo pollution or luminous pollution, is excessive, misdirected, invasive use of artificial outdoor lighting. This is light pollution. Now, what are the harmful impacts of this light? First is, it disturbs your circadian rhythm. What is circadian rhythm? Circadian rhythm is your body's natural rhythm that it will be awake, active during the day hours and it will sleep at night. Your body has developed a mechanism that in darkness it tends to sleep, take rest. But because of excessive light coming from outside, coming from your window, you may not be able to, because your body is tuned to not sleeping in light. That is circadian rhythm getting broken. It's unhealthy. Excessive light may damage your retina. Some lights like blue LED lights may also be harmful in other ways to your health. It can impact biodiversity. It has been seen that turtles, they get affected by light. They forget their direction. Rather than going towards the ocean, they end up coming on the land. Rather than running away from the predator because they get misdirected, they get into the trap of predators. Then insects, a lot of insects are drawn to the lights. A lot of insects are drawn to the lights because there are certain frequencies in lights which are emitted by their females. So their females emit those frequencies, the same frequencies are emitted by the light. तो आप देखोगे लाइट के अराउंड बहुत सारे इंसेक्ट्स आ जाते हैं, वो सारे मेल्स होते हैं. Not all insects may this is the case, but in some insects, males are attracted by of particular frequency emitted by females. Now, when lights are emitting those frequencies, they'll go around that light. Okay, then wastage of light. Excessive light is leading to wastage of light. Wastage of energy. That energy mostly has come from coal and all. So pollution, climate change. In all those things also light pollution is indirectly contributing to. Then it can also impact astronomy. What is astronomy? Study of stars and all. So to study the universe, we collect light from the celestial sources. इस स्टार से इतना लाइट आ रहा है, इस स्टार से इतना लाइट आ रहा है. But if there's a lot of artificial light around us, observation of the universe, observation of the sky would become difficult. And therefore, for observation of sky, we generally put telescopes and all those things at places which are far away from urban areas, so that very less artificial lighting would be there. Okay, recently a study in June 2021, we are discussing this because of this study in March 2021 there was this study that satellite is adding to light pollution significantly. So what they are actually trying to say is, around Earth we have launched a lot of satellites. Around Earth we have launched a lot of satellites, and with newer and newer projects, these satellites are increasing in number. More and more satellites are coming into play. They are increasing in numbers. Now the concern is, these satellites themselves are reflecting light. With more and more satellites being around us, more and more light would be reflected, and they are adding to light pollution. Satellites themselves are adding to light pollution, and the problems being caused by satellites would be higher, because artificial lighting which are there on ground, it will be in urban area. You can go to remote rural areas to set up your observation system. But satellites, when they are creating light pollution, they will impact much larger area, and concerns are higher here. It was in news in March 2021. So I hope light pollution is also understood. Fine. Now let's go to arsenic. Noise pollution is done, light pollution is done. Arsenic is something that we had not covered so far. I should have covered it with water only. I should have covered it. We covered uranium there, but we did not cover arsenic. Recently, in March 2021, a study was in Down to Earth, there was a study which says that in Bihar, even cooked rice was seen to have high level of arsenic. Then there was another study which was there in September 2020, which said that arsenic affected habitations in India have increased by 145% in last 5 years. So arsenic pollution is becoming a concern. What is arsenic? Arsenic is a metalloid which is poisonous. Arsenic is a metalloid. Metalloid क्या होते हैं? Metals और non-metals के बीच का. They have properties in transition between metals and non-metals. Those are metalloids. तो ये periodic table में बीच में आएंगे, जैसे बेरिलियम है. This is metalloid. Okay, so arsenic is one of the metalloids which is odorless. It will not give you a bad smell, which is tasteless, but is poisonous. Now, it is something which is naturally occurring in Earth's crust, and therefore think of Himalayas. Himalayas have been formed from Earth's crust. Now when rivers are flowing through Himalayas, they are bringing in sediments. So the Indo-Gangetic plain is unfortunately rich in arsenic. उत्तर प्रदेश, बिहार, झारखंड, वेस्ट बंगाल, उधर से ब्रह्मपुत्रा वाले रीजन भी, असम. These rivers and the surrounding regions where the sediments have been deposited have very high arsenic content. which is poisonous, which is harmful. So we have seen that one of the major water problem that is emerging in India, one of the biggest problems related to water that is emerging in India is the high pollution of groundwater by arsenic. BIS, Bureau of Indian Standards, says that permissible limit of this thing, arsenic, is 0.01 milligram per liter. But Central Groundwater Board says that there are 21 states across the country where there are pockets where the water level, the arsenic level is higher than this. Now, which are the key areas which have been impacted in the country? So Ganga, Brahmaputra, Meghna में जो गंगा और ब्रह्मपुत्र मिलके जो रिवर बनता है, that is Meghna river in West Bangladesh. So Ganga, Brahmaputra, Meghna river basin are the most affected in India. Why? Because earth crust, sediment, Himalayas, sedimentation, arsenic. UP, Bihar, Jharkhand, West Bengal, Assam, and then even places like Punjab, Haryana, Manipur, Chhattisgarh, and Karnataka are facing a lot of arsenic problem. Now, where is arsenic coming from? So, arsenic is introduced, most of the arsenic that has been introduced in soil or groundwater is through weathering of rocks and minerals followed by subsequent leaching and runoff. Weathering say rocks and minerals which have arsenic, that will be added into soil, that will be added into water, and then eventually they'll leached off and run through runoff, they'll get into the water, they'll be leached off into the ground. Anyway, so the biggest source of arsenic pollution is the weathering of rocks. From that weathering, it gets into the water, it gets into the ocean, it gets into the soil. From soil, it gets leached off into the groundwater. This is the biggest, most important source. So it's naturally high. Nature की वजह से arsenic level ज़्यादा है. But then there are anthropogenic sources also. Coal-fired power plants, burning of vegetation, volcanoes. These are also adding to. Acha, volcanoes should not have been added in the anthropogenic sources. I'm sorry, but these are also what do you call sources of arsenic pollution. Volcanism should have gone into the natural sources. Then water में problem है वो ठीक है, but in recent years what has happened is groundwater based irrigation system in India has increased, and because of that, because of a lot of dependence on groundwater based irrigation system, there is problem. This irrigation system is adding to arsenic in our vegetables, in our food crops, in our grains, and therefore अभी एक न्यूज था ना कि बिहार में cooked rice में a lot of arsenic has been seen. Rice husk is shown to have a lot of arsenic. Even animals which are consuming that, their milk, meat may in future end up having more arsenic. So eventually we would get all that arsenic. Impact में देखोगे arsenic pollution का impact क्या होता है? तो long-term arsenic poisoning causes a lot of issues. Cancer of skin. Look at this. This is a normal person living in a village in Bihar. And a lot of people in that area, they are not doing anything. They have not created that pollution. They're just consuming groundwater or water from the Ganga river. And that area is so rich in arsenic that they're suffering from these diseases, these things. So, arsenic poisoning may cause cancer of skin, cancer of bladder, kidney or lung, or disease of skin, blood vessels of legs and feet and so. What should be done? What should be the way forward here? इतनी बड़ी problem है तो. First is water treatment. Rather than taking water from nature directly, we have to, in areas which are rich in arsenic, we have to go for treated water. Water supply, piped water supply would be required for this. So piped water supply with water treatment is something that would be needed on priority. Then reducing contamination through anthropogenic sources. There are anthropogenic sources also, coal burning and all. We have to reduce contamination by that. Then there are, like, in different areas, there are some wells which have non-arsenic wale water. We have to promote those wells more. Those areas where wells have arsenic water and all, those have to be discouraged. Their appropriate treatment se water milna chahiye. Then adopting rainwater harvesting and watershed management is also important. Why? Because when we are extracting water from ground, then we are getting arsenic. But rainwater we do not have arsenic acid. If we harvest that water and use that water, arsenic pollution ke chances would be less. Then we need to also take a comprehensive mitigation approach. Just drinking water has been the focus in recent years. But we have seen that even in our vegetation, even in our food crops, the arsenic has gone. So we have to take a more comprehensive approach now. A lot of focus on drinking water has been happening. Usko thoda aur widen karna. Okay, so again, arsenic pollution, I hope, is understood. Now, let's go to nitrogen. Again, nitrogen pollution is something that I should have done earlier. Air pollution, water pollution, soil pollution, everything is being caused by, it's also causing climate change. So we could have studied it anywhere. We are studying it here. Nitrogen pollution. So what is nitrogen pollution? So see, in air, which is in our atmosphere, which is the most prominent gas, nitrogen is the most prominent gas that we have in our atmosphere. Almost 70% of our atmosphere is nitrogen. That's true. So nitrogen is the most prominent gas. Now, nitrogen gas N2 as such is inert, does not cause any problem. In fact, when we breathe in, very less oxygen is going, a lot of nitrogen goes in, and then it is exhaled back. Because it's inert, it's not causing any problem as such. But there are nitrogen compounds which are formed from those nitrogen gas. Nitrous oxide, nitric oxide, nitrates, जैसे ammonium nitrate, ammonia, that's also a nitrogen compound. These are all some things whose excess amount in environment may be polluting in nature and thus constitute what is known as nitrogen pollution. What is nitrogen pollution is understood? Okay. Now, sorry. What are the key factors which are leading to nitrogen pollution? So we would see, like, even while talking about ammonia, we had said that biggest source is fertilizer industry. Here also the nitrogen pollution may be most of the nitrogen that's getting into our environment is because of fertilizers for agriculture and because of industrial pollution. A study in 2017 had showed that we have breached our planetary limit. Planetary limit is something like what amount of nitrogen can we keep adding in the environment. So it was 44 Tg, teragrams per year globally. It was considered to be the planetary limit of nitrogen. But now we are adding 150 teragram nitrogen per year, primarily through fertilizer use, and thus we have breached this limit and we are adding unsustainable amount of nitrogen in the environment. Now there are different forms of nitrogen. Say N2 hai. N2 we said that it was an unreactive dinitrogen form and formed 78% of the air. No problem. But then there are other NRs, reactive nitrogen. They are fixed in soil by microbes. There is ammonia, which is used for making fertilizer. It can escape in air as a pollutant. There is ammonium nitrate, which is a fertilizer, and in the atmosphere, when it is synthesized in atmosphere, it may also act as particulate matter. This nitrous oxide, this is important. This is not only a pollutant, but it is also a greenhouse gas. Heats the environment. Like जो हमारी next class होगी, today we'll complete pollution. Next class would be on climate change. There we'll talk about, the first thing that we'll talk about would be the various greenhouse gases. So we'll see nitrous oxide is one of the important greenhouse gases. In fact, its global warming potential is 300 times more than that of CO2. It's also something that can contribute in ozone layer depletion. So climate change may not only is it contributing in global warming, it can also deplete ozone layer. Then there are other nitrogen oxides which may be contributing towards acid rains and other things, which are also pollutant. Nitrate, in this form, nitrogen is fixed by soil. It can pollute water sources. It can form ozone, which adds to particulate matter load in the environment. हमने बोला था ओजोन कैसे प्रोड्यूस होता है ऑन दी ग्राउंड लेवल. Nitrogen oxides react with volatile organic carbons in the presence of sunlight. So these nitrates may be contributing there. So nitrogen, this nitrous oxide especially is important. So please note that it's a greenhouse gas. It can contribute also in the, what do you call it, ozone layer depletion. Now, in 2020, a study about nitrogen oxide was published in Nature. Nature is an international magazine, वहाँ पे publish हुई थी. This study was conducted by International Nitrogen Initiative and the Global Carbon Project of Future. So far, this is the most important study on nitrogen done so far, and it says that human emissions of nitrogen oxide N2O increased 30% in last 36 years. 43% of the total emission of N2O is coming from human sources, and the increase in the emission means that climate burden from non-carbon sources is also increasing. अभी तक हम कार्बन CO2 की बात कर रहे थे क्लाइमेट बर्डन पे, बट इवन दीज थिंग्स आर कंट्रीब्यूटिंग मोर एंड मोर इन द क्लाइमेट चेंज थिंग. Then they're also talking about dichotomy between climate crisis and food security. We are adding more and more nitrogen in the environment to ensure food security for us, but it is creating climate crisis also. These compounds are problematic in that sense. Okay, what are the key causes of nitrogen? So we already have said that most of it comes from agriculture sector, comes from fertilizers. So emissions from chemical fertilizer contributes to around 50% of the nitrogen used in the global agri sector. Then sewage and organic solid waste that we release, that also constitute of a lot of nitrogen. Like sewage, जो हमारे घरों से सीवेज निकल रहा है, इंडस्ट्रीज से भी जो निकल रहा है, and organic waste that we dispose of, it contains nitrogen. Plants, crops, they all use nitrogen to grow. Then burning of fossil fuels, vehicular pollution, industrial pollution, all of those may be contributing in the nitrogen. What are the concerns? Air pollution harmful है. If you remember air pollution wala section, there we had discussed BS norms. One of the norms there was limit on nitrogen oxides, nitrogen compounds. They may contribute in particulate matter formation, ozone wala. They may contribute in acid rain by nitric acid. Then it may also cause water pollution. How water pollution? एक तो नाइट्रिक एसिड जाएगा तो एसिडिफिकेशन होगा ही, बट excess amount of nitrogen in water may lead to eutrophication, and all those issues of dead zones and all those things may be created by it. It may hamper soil health also. We have seen in places like Haryana and Punjab where a lot of fertilizers have been used. Their degradation in the soil quality is happening because of excess amount of nitrogen being added there. Then climate change वाला issue भी हमने discuss कर ही लिया है. Nitrous oxide is a greenhouse gas. It may contribute to ozone layer depletion, and eventually all these things would affect our livelihood, our economy, our income. Agriculture अच्छा नहीं है, temperature बढ़ रहा है, those problems would be created. Okay, तो here we'll not be discussing way forward कि हम कैसे nitrogen pollution से deal करें and all. Means exam again वो. यहाँ पे just we want to discuss this Colombo Declaration on sustainable nitrogen management. So in 2019, what had happened was Sri Lanka, with the support of United Nations Environment Programme, had convened an event on the issue of nitrogen pollution. And in this event, finally, countries agreed to give what is known as Colombo Declaration. So what is Colombo Declaration? Here, countries have agreed that they will halve nitrogen waste by 2000. They will reduce the nitrogen base to 50% by 2030. The member countries also endorsed a plan by UN for sustainable nitrogen management called Nitrogen for. तो कोलंबो डिक्लेरेशन में ही का ही पार्ट है नाइट्रोजन फॉर लाइफ, वेयर sustainable nitrogen pollution would be promoted. Upmanyu is asking, sir, can you please tell the RP between teragram and gram? अरे ग्राम, किलोग्राम is 1000 gram, megagram is 10 raised to 6 grams, गीगाग्राम से 10 raised to 9 grams, गीगा के बाद टेरा ही आएगा, टेराग्राम से 10 raised to 12 grams. उपमन्यु इज आस्किंग टेराग्राम के बारे में, टेराग्राम इज 10 raised to 12. हाँ यार, ये तो मैंने बताया है पहले, नैनो टेक्नोलॉजी पढ़ाते टाइम भी बताया था. ओके, तो अबाउट नाइट्रोजन, दीज आर सर्टेन थिंग्स दैट यू शुड नो. नाउ स्टॉकहोम कन्वेंशन, आई नो आई हैव कवर्ड स्टॉकहोम कन्वेंशन ऑलरेडी. यहाँ पे एक स्मॉल अपडेट था विच आई हैड मिस्ड. वी विल टॉक अबाउट दैट. तो वी नो अबाउट स्टॉकहोम कन्वेंशन. persistent organic pollutants से related. Persistent organic pollutants are those pollutants which remain in environment for longer period and thus can bioaccumulate and are more harmful. Stockholm Convention have identified these pollutants and have made rules कि इनको खत्म करना है, इनको धीरे धीरे phase out करना है, इनको regulate करना है, restrict करना है. Right? We know about Stockholm, this about Stockholm Convention. Now India signed Stockholm Convention in 2006, but under Article 25 Clause 4. Now what was the speciality of signing this convention under this article and this clause? Under the countries which sign under this norm, this norm enables India to keep itself in a default opt-out position. What is meant by default opt-out position? Default opt-out position is when, ध्यान से सुनना, when Stockholm Convention adds something in the banned list, this organic pollutant will not be used. So member countries who have signed it are supposed to ban it then and there. But here, when a country has signed this convention under 25(4), that is under the opt-out list, then by default, India is opting out from that ban. In India, ban will be applicable when India would ratify, take that decision. Amendments in various annexes of the convention cannot be enforced on it unless an instrument of ratification, acceptance, approval or accession is explicitly deposited with UN depository. I hope समझ में आई बात? नहीं आई? फिर से बताते हैं. देखो, opt-out clause क्या है? I have signed the convention. India has signed the convention, but when they add some organic pollutant into the list, this is banned. Does it get banned in India? India says no, we are in the opt-out clause. So by default, we are opting out from that ban. We'll keep using it unless we ratify it. Yeah, we are adding it in the list of banned list. So not every country was agreeing to signing the Stockholm Convention because it imposed a lot of bans which may impact our fertilizer industry and other things. The advanced developed countries have developed mechanisms, have technology to take care of this stuff, but India was not in a position. So इन दोनों के लिए एक opt-out clause develop किया गया. So India have signed it under opt-out clause. Okay, now why was it important to understand opt-out clause? Because in 2018, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change had passed a notification for banning 7 organic pollutants, persistent organic pollutants. So it prohibited manufacture, trade, use, import and export of 7 chemicals: chlorodicone, hexabromobiphenyl, hexabromodiphenyl ether and heptabromodiphenyl ether, tetrabromodiphenyl ether and pentabromodiphenyl ether, then pentachlorobenzene, hexabromocyclododecane and hexachlorobutadiene. These were the products which were banned. Abhi in October 2020, Cabinet has ratified the ban on 7 chemicals by the 2018 notification. So this ban is applicable. India is coming under this restriction only after ratification. Cabinet has ratified it, plus cabinet has done one more thing. It has said that delegation of the powers to ratify chemicals under the Stockholm Convention is now given to Ministry of External Affairs and Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. So, in future, Ministry of External Affairs and Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change can also do this ratification. They do not have to wait for Cabinet's approval. This was in news in October 2020. I had missed it, and that's why I wanted to cover it. Fine. Did you understand what is the update? Indian Cabinet has ratified the ban on 7 pollutants, and Indian Cabinet has also delegated the power of this ratification to 2 ministries. Ministry of External Affairs and Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Fine. Now, environmental crimes in India. Environmental laws, violation of environmental laws leads to environmental crimes. कितना environmental crimes हो रहा है officially in India? अच्छा, before I go in there, let me see if there are any doubts. आप पूछ सकते हैं कोई भी हाथ उठा के. कोई डाउट्स नहीं आ रहे आजकल. चलिए, अच्छी बात है. We'll start science and technology from next Friday. फिर देखता हूँ कैसे डाउट्स नहीं आते. Environment is very factual, so less chances of doubts are there. But finish it. Like, try, ensure that for those of you who haven't watched previous videos or who are waiting for completion of environment, this is the last week for environment. It's being completed this week. Environment, biodiversity, climate change, everything is being completed this week. This week Sunday को नहीं, मतलब कल पूरा नहीं हो पाएगा, तो Monday, Tuesday में पूरा हो जाएगा. But it's completed. It's getting completed this week. Finish it. Your environment will be done. Will be thoroughly done. Okay, we may delay tomorrow's test by 1 or 2 days. जब तक climate change complete नहीं होता, उसे हम थोड़ा सा delay कर देंगे. Tomorrow you have a test, एक full 100 questions का test है environment का. उसे will delay by 1 or 2 days to finish climate change. After that we'll take the test, but please finish it. Okay, you will yourself have that extra confidence कि we are better prepared than anyone else. Even in full GS program where you have 300 classes, they don't take 20-25 classes on environment. And even if they do it, they'll dictate you things जहाँ पे आप note करोगे and you study less. Here you'll be studying around 20 booklets, 300-400 pages of notes हैं आपके पास, पूरी किताब हो गई है. Okay, so study it seriously, study it properly. You go through Shankar ka pollution wala book. You would see that in pollution they would not have covered this much. Go through their biodiversity section, they would not have covered this much. Tomorrow we'll cover climate change. You'll understand that they would not have covered this much of climate change in this systematic manner. Okay, let's go to environmental crimes in India. So देखो, NCRB had published data in October 2020, but for the year 2019. So when we are talking about the environmental crimes, this environmental crime, we are talking about what was the level of environmental crime in 2019. So according to NCRB, air, water pollution, environmental offences have increased, but others may have gone down. Okay, so these are the crimes. You'll see Forest Act and Forest Conservation Act mein there's a decline. Wildlife Protection Act mein when compared to 2018, in 2019 there's a decline. But Environment Protection Act rises, the Air and Water Prevention and Control Pollution Act rises, Cigarette and other tobacco products decreases, Noise Pollution Act rises, National Green Tribunal Act rises, and Environment Pollution Related Acts, it decreases. So in some areas it has decreased, in some areas it has rose. Overall environmental crimes have dipped marginally by 1.5%. Please note, it is NCRB data, so it is the data that is जहाँ पे cases register करते हैं. This is not actually the reality कि इंडिया में बस इतने ही environmental crimes हुए होंगे. So overall, as per this data, as per the 2020 report, which is about 2019, the environmental crimes have gone down. Total 35,671 environmental crimes were recorded. Now, why do I say that this may be a very less data? Dekho, we have 365 days. So in a way, they are saying that every day only around 100 environmental crimes are recorded. Every day only around, let's say there are 30 states, so 30 states, union territory combined. So from every state, every union territory, on an average 3 in a day. Are we only violating 3 environmental laws in a day? No. So it's reported number, they are very, very less. But crimes related to water and air pollution and Environment Protection Act have increased drastically. Rajasthan has reported highest number of cases, followed by Uttar Pradesh. Out of 35,000 cases, 10,000 have been reported from Rajasthan only. Then there is Uttar Pradesh, which has reported only 1800 cases. Now, इसमें भी of the 35,000 cases, 22,000 cases are related to cigarettes, कोटपा, violating the norms related to cigarettes. So in reality, environment related norms, laws directly have not dealt with this. Okay, Andaman Nicobar National Parks. Yes, Sanket here. I'll cover Andaman Nicobar National Parks. I remember we haven't done it. Then there are some reports, days and all those stuff. Factual, ये सारी चीजें factual हैं, आप खुद से भी कर सकते हैं. मैं briefly ऊपर से overview दे देता हूँ आप लोगों को, so that कोई issue concern नहीं रहेगा. तो एक UNEP Champion of the Earth Award होता है. So first thing that you should know is UN Champion of the Earth Award is given by United Nations Environment Group. Now this award is given to recognize contributions in the field of environment by governments, by civil society और by private sector. तो अलग अलग एरियाज में दिया जाता है. पॉलिसी लीडरशिप, जैसे 2 years back it was given to Prime Minister Narendra Modi for इंटरनेशनल सोलर अलायंस. वो एनवायरमेंट के टुवर्ड्स एक अच्छा ग्लोबल एफर्ट था. साइंस एंड इनोवेशन, तो पॉलिसी लीडरशिप, साइंस एंड इनोवेशन, एंटरप्रेन्योरियल विजन, इंस्पिरेशन एंड एक्शन and lifetime achievement. So in 2020 this award has been given to Prime Minister Frank Bainimarama of Fiji for his commitment to climate responsive national development. Then Dr. Fabian Linders is from Germany, for science and innovation has been given. She's for her work in the field of discovering zoonotic diseases and her idea of One Health, his work in the field of One Health. There are some other people, तो नाम याद रखने की जरूरत नहीं, but for the case of completion, for the sake of completion, have done it. In 2019, in leadership category, Prime Minister Modi was given this award under International Solar Alliance. So not only because for his International Solar Alliance contribution, but also for his leadership in the fight against plastic pollution, this award was given. Then there is Goldman Environmental Award. What are these Goldman Environmental Awards? These Goldman Environmental Awards are given to people who are working at grassroots level, environmental activists who are working at grassroots level in each of the world's 6 geographical areas. So एक person from Africa, one activist from Africa would be chosen, one from Asia, one from Europe, islands and island nations, North America and South and Central America. They would be chosen. Now each of them is given $175,000. So it is also considered the Green Nobel Prize in Environment sector. This was established in 1989 by it should be Goldman Environmental Foundation. मैंने यहाँ Golden लिख दिया है. Environmental Foundation headquartered in San Francisco. In 2021, awards were given to these people. For example, Sharon Levenge was from North America वाला category. Gloria Mazzillia. So these are the names. Not very important, but you should know about this award. Then Environment Performance Index, EPI. ये एक report है about which we should know. So what is this report? This is a report which ranks countries in their performance in the field of environment. So in this year's report, there were 32 performance indicators across 11 issue categories. And based on the performance in each of those indicators, countries were ranked. So India's rank, when compared to last year, has improved. It has become 168. Last year, India's rank was 177 out of 180 countries. But उससे पिछले साल भी 168 ही था. So over the years, it has been deteriorating. It was in 140s in 2013-14, and since then, in Environment Performance Index, our rank has been deteriorating. So first thing that you should know is who publishes it. Yale University. It's a biennial report. Purpose of the report क्या है? Countries' environment performance measure करना, identify करना which are the areas where they are not functioning properly, India was ranked 168 this year. In 2018, its rank was 177. It's a biennial report. Please note, 2 साल में एक बार आएगा. So it was ranked 177 in 2018, and before that, it was ranked better. So its rank has deteriorated a lot. All South Asian countries except Afghanistan were ahead of India in Environment Performance Index. Then on 22nd April, Earth Day is celebrated. So this day was first proposed by UNESCO in UNESCO conference in 1969. अब Earth Day है तो you can understand the idea is to get support for environment protection, increase awareness related to environment protection. World Environment Day is celebrated on 5th of June, and this year the theme was ecosystem restoration. This is also an initiative by United Nations Environment Program, World Environment Day, and this World Environment Day, the 2021 का जो वर्ल्ड एनवायरनमेंट डे है, it has also kicked off UN Decade on Environment Restoration. So this decade 2021 to 2030 is the UN Decade on Environmental Restoration, and it has started with this day, with 5th of June 2021. Okay, ऐसे 8th of June को World Ocean Day होता है. This day many countries have been celebrating this day since 1992. UNGA officially decided this day in 2018, and the theme for this year was Ocean Life and Livelihood. Okay, and then there is Earth Overshoot Day. Earth Overshoot Day keeps on varying. So what is meant by Earth Overshoot Day? See, to understand Earth Overshoot Day, first understand this, that Earth every year produces some resources, right? Human beings consume those resources. So Overshoot Day is that day, like 1st of January से हम शुरू करेंगे. On what day have we consumed the resources which Earth would have produced in the whole year? So if it is 31st December, it means Earth जितना produce कर रहा है उतना consume कर रहे हैं, no issue. But over the years we would see that this day is coming near and near. In 1970, it was good. We were consuming as much as Earth was producing. We were not overshooting. But since then, it has been coming down. In 2020, because of COVID-19 lockdown, we had consumed less resources, so it improved a bit. But this year again, it has come down. So Earth Overshoot Day 29 in 2021, the Earth Overshoot Day will fall on 29th July. 29th July अभी आया नहीं है, but it will fall on 29th July as per the calculation. So what is overshoot? Demand for ecological resources and services in a given year exceeds what Earth can regenerate in that year. That is overshoot. And this year, overshoot was on 29th July. Now, this initiative is hosted and calculated by Global Footprint Network. Then, Sundarlal Bahuguna was in news. I think all of us study about Sundarlal Bahuguna ji in geography. ना class 5, 6, 7 में ही पढ़ लेते हो. Sundarlal Bahuguna was the founder of Chipko movement, was a leader of Chipko movement. So he is one of the most well-known environmentalists of India who passed away recently in AIIMS, Rishikesh, because of COVID-19. He has a lot of contribution in the field of environment. He was one of the leaders of Chipko movement. Chipko movement was an environment protection movement at the grassroots level. Chipko movement was one of the environment protection movement at the grassroots level, which happened in 1970s and 80s, where people, especially women, used to form a chain and they used to hug the tree to prevent it from being cut. This was Chipko movement. So movement as such, like this movement or this chipakna from the tree will not be able to protect environment that much, because the places where cutting happens, where people are not even living, but it spread awareness, which became important, because of which this movement is extremely important. This was one of his major contributions. Then Chipko movement also got this 1987 Right Livelihood Award, also known as Alternative Nobel Prize. 1981 से 83 तक Bahuguna also led a 5,000 kilometer march across Himalayas to spread awareness and to raise concerns related to damages which are taking place. This march eventually concluded with his meeting with Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, who passed a law to impose more restrictions on cutting of trees in Himalayas. He was also one of the leaders of the movement to oppose Tehri project. to protect India's rivers. He has worked in the field of women rights and rights of poor also. His methods were Gandhian in nature, where he followed a peaceful, non-violent method to protest and raise awareness. Okay, so with this, pollution is done. So biodiversity is done, pollution is done, climate change. We'll start climate change tomorrow. आज यहीं रुकते हैं. ठीक है, कोई डाउट्स हैं किसी को? Anyone, any doubts? Please raise your hands. No. There are no doubts. I'll see you tomorrow then. है ना? Maybe I'll need a day's rest. मैं बता दूंगा, है ना? और most probably I'll see you tomorrow, या एक दिन का रेस्ट लेके मंडे ट्यूसडे क्लास ले लेते हैं. क्लाइमेट चेंज मंडे ट्यूसडे को खत्म कर देंगे. ठीक है, चलिए. someone is saying doubts हैं. अच्छा, previous booklet. अच्छा, 1 or 2 topics from previous booklet is remaining. Coral reefs and all. Let's do it tomorrow only, in the next class only. Okay.